Welcome back to the Oakland Athletics franchise here for the monthly recap. We have recently completed the month of August, so it is time for the August recap heading into September. This is something we do at the end of every month, obviously, where we go over stuff that happened, who's doing well on our team, who's doing bad on our team, trades if they happen, transactions, just all that types of stuff. And we are going to be going over the month of August, like I said. But before we get into that, I have something to mention to you guys, and that is there's going to be a straw poll in the description and probably a comment too. I'll probably leave a comment with the straw poll in it. And it's you guys are going to vote for how I do run the playoffs. This is if we get to the playoffs. I'm not saying it's a guarantee, obviously. We do have a pretty decent lead in the AL West, and we have it in first place all season long, but you never know what can happen in the last month of the season. You never really know, so we could not make the playoffs, but it's pretty likely that we are, so I'm going to put this option for you guys. Would you like, there's going to be two options in the straw poll. Would you like option number one for how I run the playoff series, and I play game one, and then I also play the elimination games, sort of like I was doing for the Jazz? But now I'm going to start doing the Jazz where I do just playing the elimination games, and I'm not going to play game one, just the elimination games. They each have their perks, and they each have their pros and cons. I would think generally the pros of the game one plus elimination games is that in that thing, if you do end up like getting swept in the series, at least you have two games to show for in the series on the channel. But if you just play the elimination games and you get swept, you only get one game to show. Or even if you sweep the other team, you only have one game to show from each series. And if you sweep your way through, I mean, you're gonna only play like like 4 games in a series, or 4 games in the playoffs, and it's not exactly or 3 games in the playoffs. You could literally play 3 games in the playoffs and just go through that. So would you guys want to see game 1 plus the elimination games, meaning not playing game 2, not playing game 3, game 1 plus the elimination games? If there's multiple games, it could just be one elimination game. Or would you just want to see the elimination game or games? So that'll be option 1 and option 2. Vote for that down in the straw poll. So now moving on to the actual monthly recap. The A's are currently sitting at 78-55 in the season, which is first place in the AL West, and the Los Angeles Angels are 8 games back in second place, and then the Seattle Mariners are 12.5 games back in third place. So the A's do have quite a big lead in that AL West right now, and they're sitting in a very good spot heading into the final month of the season. Ramon Benitez, the injury-prone catcher, has finally returned from injury, and he is ready to be called up to the big leagues. He has had 18 at-bats, so far in the big leagues so far, and he's hitting .444 with a home run and 4 RBI. So, Ramon Benitez is currently the starting catcher, while Stephen Vogt is moved at the left field, as Benitez is the younger guy. Get him in there at catcher, get him some time, and hopefully he's able to stay healthy and keep in that spot. Because if he keeps getting injured, that's going to be a problem, because I was really hoping this guy was going to be the starting catcher of the future. And my personal least favorite guy on this Athletics team, Mark Canha, is still struggling. I think it's pronounced Canha. I've heard some people in the announcers, like some announcers throughout the league, pronounce it as Canha. Well, most of them. And I've heard Michael Kay, the Yankees announcer, pronounce it as Canha. So I'm not really sure which one it is. I'm just going to go with like all the other announcers who say Canha. So if you guys are like friends with Mark Canha in real life and you know how to pronounce it, then sure, tell me how to pronounce it. But I'm just going to go with Canha. So he is hitting .204 with 14 home runs and 38 RBI. I think that has an OBP that's like a .260. So he's not getting on base very often. He's just not very good. I think he's been cold the entire season. He might have been hot there for like a week or so. But he's not having a very good year. .204 with like a .260 OBP is not good. 14 bombs is that? I mean, yeah, that's okay, but I mean, it doesn't really help the team when you're hitting .204. So moving on to some of the league leaders for this Athletics team, Yangervis Solarte is the American League leader in batting average. He has a .337 average, a .393 OBP, and a .510 slugging. That's a 900-plus OPS. He has 15 bombs and 72 RBI as well. Moving on to the triples leader in Billy Burns. He's first in the AL in triples with 10 triples, and he only has 19 stolen bases with 66 runs, but he's not exactly fitting that leadoff spot. You want the leadoff guy to get on base a lot, start the trend, just set the tone to start the game or whenever he comes up. But Billy Burns just hasn't done that this year. He has a 317 OBP, which will... An average over 300 is good, but a OBP that's just barely over 300, that's not exactly good. It's like a meh. Like, especially not good for an OBP like leadoff guy. You definitely don't want that, so hopefully he's going to pick that up soon. But one guy who has been doing good with the OBP and being just a kind of like a second leadoff guy in the 9th spot is Jarrod Dyson. Jarrod Dyson, he's second in the American League in stolen bases. He's hitting 317 with a 377 OBP. 53 runs scored and 43 swiped bags. The only person in front of him is the Houston Astros' Jose Altuve. Moving on to the pitching side of things for the league leader, Sean Doolittle is tied for first in the American League with saves with Francisco Rodriguez of the Tigers. And Doolittle has 40 saves, and in 48 innings pitched, or 48 and a third innings pitched, he has 40 strikeouts, and he has a 2.42 ERA, which is quite down from his last season ERA and his early season ERA from this year, where he had like a 4 ERA, and now it's down to a sub-3. So Doolittle's definitely starting to come around here and definitely starting to settle into that closer's role. About time he does that. Sonny Gray is second in the American League in ERA. He is 13-4 on the year with a 1.95 ERA, and in 166 innings pitched, he has 165 strikeouts and a 1.02 whip. So Sonny Gray is just dominating the league right now. Really being a certified G and a bona fide stud for this Athletics team. Now, there are a couple injuries that the Athletics are dealing with, but they're both kind of close to coming back. John Danks, you guys remember that he was on the DL. I believe he had a fractured arm, was it? I think it was a fractured arm or maybe like a fractured hand. I forget exactly what the injury was, but he was out for a good majority of the season. He came back, probably pitched in like 3 games, and he's right back on the DL with a shoulder pull. So he's out for 2 to 3 weeks. He'll be back for the playoffs, though. Hopefully doesn't get hurt again. And Jed Lowry is also out with a cartilage damage in his knee. You saw that, so I went out and signed Coghlan, moved Solarte to short, and then moved Coghlan to third base. So Lowry, he doesn't have too much time left with his injury, though. He is 1 to 6 days left on that. He'll be back for the playoffs as well, and then he'll probably go back to being the starting shortstop. Solarte will probably go back to third, and Coghlan will probably move to left field, considering Canna is god-awful. Taking a look at the starting rotation, bullpen, and lineups, the rotation 1 to 5 is Sonny Gray, Henderson Alvarez, J.R. Newman, Tim Lincecum, and Jesse Hahn. The bullpen is middle relievers Fernando Rodriguez, Liam Hendricks, the Ozzy Oyoy, Adros Vizcaino, I believe is how you say his first name, Felix Dubront, Alex Torres, Ryan Madsen in the setup spot is Torres and Madsen, and then the closer is Sean Doolittle. While the lineup against right-handed pitching is center fielder Billy Burns, second baseman Jose Miguel Fernandez, shortstop Young Solarte, DH Chris Davis, first base Matt Olson, left field Stephen Vogt, third base Chris Coghlan, catching is Ramon Benitez, and right field Jarrod Dyson. And then against left-handed pitchers, it's center fielder Billy Burns, second base Jose Miguel Fernandez, third base Solarte, DH Chris Davis, first base Matt Olson, left field Stephen Vogt, shortstop Marwin Gonzalez, catching is Ramon Benitez, and right field is Angel Pagan. Now with that being said, that's going to pretty much wrap things up here for this August recap, as we're going to be heading into the month of September. And as you can see on the screen, we have the schedule of the month of September, who we're going to be playing, and in this month of September, we're only going to be playing 2 games. I usually play 3 games per month, but we're only going to play 2 games in September so we can get into those playoffs, because all year long, it's just been like, we're in first place, let's, we're still in first place, trying to get to the playoffs here, and we're just gonna... And I only played 2 games in the month of September, so we're gonna head into the playoffs after only 2 games if we do make the playoffs, but we'll see if we do make the playoffs after we play those 2 games. And then there won't be a September recap, it'll be more like the end of the regular season update / playoff preview thing if we do make the playoffs, like I said. So, with that being said, that's going to wrap things up here for the August recap of the Oakland Athletics franchise. I've been your host, Jerseyborn, and I'm saying goodbye.
Been looking for a reason, man.